I don't believe it.
So you're saying it's possible, Nurk?
Is this sped up?
This is not sped up.
Do you or do you not have to register that cup of coffee with the FAA?
Oh my god! Would you all say that this video is good?
Hello and welcome back to Maybe Someday. I'm Christoph, and today the city that I live in is in a lockdown, so if we want to keep creating, we're going to have to get creative. But this is actually a video I've wanted to make for a while, and now feels like the perfect time to do it. I've selected a bunch of clips that are either wacky or they might blow your mind, but all of them are shot with drones. I'm really excited about the guests that we have on today's episode. Some of them you might know, and they're all going to be coming at us via Zoom, since that's kind of how we're doing things these days. You might recognize Paul Nurkala, aka Nurk, who is a drone pilot and YouTuber who, if you spent any time building FPV drones, is probably a familiar face. Nurk was the Drone Racing League champion in 2018, but also flies drones professionally in the film industry, and he's worked with people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Potato Jet, and of course, a lot of us probably know you for your step-by-step drone building tutorials. In fact, I don't think any of my builds would have been possible without your videos. We've also got Dr. Chris Nicholas, who, aside from being an actual doctor, is also a drone pilot and helicopter pilot, and runs a filmmaking, home renovation, whatever they're up to that day, YouTube channel with his wife Becky. And you also recently launched your own separate channel called Heliscapes, which are like Apple screensavers that are more dynamic and move faster. And of course, joining me from the Maybe Someday squad is Florence, who is not a drone pilot, but as an editor and VFX artist, they've collaborated with me on a bunch of drone shots that I've done. So they do have a bit of an understanding of how drones work.
I am playing the role of the plebeian who knows nothing about drones. I've never flown a drone in my life.
So thank you all for joining me. Let's jump into this first clip. This one is actually the video that gave me the idea for this, so it feels like a good place to start. So 1, 2, 3.
Okay. No way.
Oh my god. I don't believe it.
No.
He's
I mean, he shows how he builds it and everything.
This is like the one where they had the iPhone and the two propellers.
Yeah.
And they made it like a selfie cam.
Yeah.
And people, and but they put a parts list for Amazon, and they probably made a killing.
He just zip tied the flip flops to it.
No.
I mean, it flies, which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, he did a little flip there too.
That's awesome.
Then here he goes. He actually like straps into the.
Yeah, okay, but this is just their feet. I want to see their whole body. No, this is fake. This is fake. It can't be real.
Yeah.
It's really funny though.
That's a 4-cell 1300 milliamp battery.
Yeah.
So he's running basically, those are probably 8-inch propellers, and there's only 4 of them, and each of those is probably going to do maybe 2 kilograms of thrust maximum. So we're talking about 8 kilograms overall, and let's assume that guy is very, very small. Like the smallest he could be is,
So you're saying it's possible, Nurk?
I'm saying.
I think the metal itself didn't look like it was strong enough to like lift somebody up.
Let alone the zip ties that are holding it all together. This one's kind of a classic. Like, I remember seeing this one before I was really even dabbling in drones.
I don't like it already.
Yeah.
I already have a bad feeling.
Oh no.
Oh my god!
Oh.
No!
Oh my gosh.
I love the slow motion. You can actually see that he took them out. Like, you see their legs hit the ground. Like, they both hit the ground
Yeah.
after the after the drone hit them. They
Oh.
hit the deck.
Dude.
Oh, they got cut.
No.
I think
Oh, yeah.
is it tied in her hair? No, it's fine.
Might have.
Oh my gosh, the legs.
Oh.
That's my favorite part. Is seeing the leg.
Oh my gosh.
What's really
Hopefully they
funny-
were done with their wedding day photography.
What's funny is that was just the last of many attempts.
Oh man.
You know what though? I appreciate what they were going for in 2013, 2014.
I think it was originally in 2013. Yeah.
you could do some pretty epic flybys, and with the technology we have now, with the quality of GoPros, with the quality of stabilization. You know, this video obviously doesn't look very nice nor cinematic, but I mean, I can see what their vision was.
That's the tragic thing about it, is even if it had worked, it wouldn't have been a great shot.
No.
I like the caption on the bottom. This amateur drone pilot becomes a, quote, wedding crasher.
Yeah. This longer version, you just see how many attempts that they had at it that they botched before they ultimately... So it's just like setting it up for like... What probably happened is this guy just got the drone and like barely knew how to fly it, and then obviously this is what happens.
So they probably bought the cheapest drone they could, which was, of course, you know, a quote-unquote FPV style drone at the time, and barely could fly it.
I remember when I was first getting into drone stuff, you'd get hired to do these like corporate videos, and every shot that they wanted you to do was a drone shot. Like, you know, putting the key in the ignition, they wanted a drone shot of that. And you're just like, this isn't what these are for. Like, there are certain things that drones are good at, and then there's certain things that you should leave, you know, to conventional cameras. And this is kind of a perfect example of, it's like, you should have just done this with a gimbal or handheld.
I've spent most of my drone career talking people out of using a drone. It's just like, no, just use a gimbal, it's better. Oh yeah, Benoit. This is so this is a guy called Benoit. He goes by the pilot handle Finky. He's based out of the
Oh my god.
France.
He went underneath.
Yeah.
That's there's a lot.
Yeah.
This was a video that persuaded me to build a Cinewoop, actually. One of the many videos. I remember going on like a deep dive. Becky left town for the weekend. She was gone somewhere, and I was just basically holed up in my house, just absorbing everything I could about FPV. And I think this is one of the videos I was like, yep, it's happening.
Yeah. It's because like, so Cinewoops are ducted. They have like protection on them, so you can. I mean, you don't ever want to hit anybody with the drone, but if you accidentally bumped into, I don't know, or Lofty is the guy's name. You know, it's not gonna likely hurt him unless you really worked hard. And like, he grabs the camera out of the air.
Oh my god.
And it just, his character, like the way he's smiling and interacting with the camera and just doing what he loves, like I think that's what sells the video as much as the awesome drone work. You know, it's so good to just see that energy come through. I don't know if you can see it, but there's some pretty gnarly scars on the knuckle.
Oh yeah. So you've been bit a
and
few
if you
times.
look really close, I actually have some on my nose as well.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god.
Yeah. Not
What are you doing,
not
man?
Just you know, you gotta get the shot. It's I've not gone to the hospital yet, but I've used a lot of super glue to put myself back together.
You know, they always say when you put your drone on the bench, take the props off before you do anything. Well, I learned my lesson the hard way.
There's literally a warning in beta flight that says that every time.
Yeah.
I know, and that's
It's like,
basically
I
what happened.
acknowledge I am not dumb. Oh dang it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyways.
you need to be okay with that danger. Christoph flies his drone sometimes around the studio while we're all working, and I can't think while there's like a drone near my head. It's terrifying.
Yeah, but as Nurk said, those ducted quads, I mean, they're pretty safe as long as you don't have like appendages that go in the props.
Into those cameras as well. It felt like I got stung by a bee or something. There's hairs. My hairs are in the rotors.
FPV down a mountain.
Starts off unassuming.
It's interesting that they're not using real steady.
Yeah, I've always noticed that, the shakiness and wondered
I
if
bet
that-
you that they were on site. Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my god.
That's the part, like, I've watched this over and over
Wow.
again. I was like, did somebody catch it inside? But then he flies through the front window and it's like, no, he literally just flew around.
I think
inside.
he just flew it around. Yeah, that's impressive flying. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
got to be like a naked GoPro. So like
Yeah.
Bev Aerials makes their own like dedicated naked like stripped down GoPro, small little micro ducted thing. I mean, you can see it being like messed up by the turbulence kind of behind the Kia.
Yeah.
And then he gets in the window and That's so locked in. It's got to be caught, right?
It was caught. It was 100% caught because as soon as it went in there, it stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watching it.
But I would wonder if that was a case of like this video, because you were saying it almost looks like it looks somewhat stabilized, but not stabilized aggressively like real steady. I wonder if this was a case of they handed it off to the post house, and the post house just didn't have a lot of experience with getting that stabilization and didn't realize that what tools existed, or maybe that's what they were going for. Who knows?
When you're on car commercials, because they have experience with GoPros, they always ask you to shoot in linear mode, which is not supported by RealSteady. So I wonder if they got to set and they're like, "You're gonna shoot this in linear," and they're like, "You're not gonna have the stabilization that we usually use." Okay, and then they kind of that would be my guess as to what happened.
This could be a controversial question in this specific call, but would you all say that this video is good?
I think it's a scroll stopper. I think if your goal is to get people to look at a Kia and you're scrolling through Facebook, you're looking, you'd happened to have searched for a new car the other day, and all of a sudden you see this, you're going to stop and you're going to watch that, and now Kia is going to be planted in your mind. I think it's good from that aspect, absolutely.
I'm impressed by the piloting of the drone, because I know that I probably would have to have, could I do it? Yeah. Would it take probably 100 takes to get it to the point where I was happy with it? Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But I think that from a standpoint of the general public who don't even know that FPV drones exist, I think it's impressive.
It was a cool shot, but I don't know how I feel about the car, or like whether I feel like it showed the car in its best light or whatever. But it's a very cool shot. Like, I have to admit, the camera work was cool. I
think the thing that I'm the most excited about with it is that, hey, it's FPV, it's mainstream, it's something that would have probably aired on TV, and they're taking what is this kind of niche product and saying, we acknowledge that this is cool and we want to see more of it, and taking a risk to bring someone on to attempt to take that shot. And,
I agree.
And so, like, from my perspective, it's, hey, that looks like more work for everybody,
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to be controversial.
I love it. It's a great question. So again, we got Finky here doing Cinewoop masterclass stuff. It's just awesome.
Yeah, but you don't know it.
I like the editing already. The titles there.
You can kind of see, like, now it's being held, now it's flying again, and then, it's such a good wipe.
And I love the, like, hidden transitions like this here, too. It's just, like, goes above and beyond.
And then this. Poof, 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 poof.
Ooh.
It's so cool. Then it gets shot off of him.
Damn.
But to have the creative foresight to see, that, like, the best way, or maybe one of the best ways to shoot this would be to get a tiny little drone, like, thinking through that sort of stuff is, like, that's what gets me really excited about stuff like this, is, like, just what new ways can we think of to tell the story of, a dojo or whatever. And the best way to do that is to get a drone. What? Why?
Yeah.
And then they come up with this. It's just like, oh my gosh.
This was one that so many people that I know that don't know anything about FPV were posting this video when it came out, because they just couldn't understand, how you did it. It was, like, clearly not done on a gimbal, because they're going, like, through people's legs and everything. But so I think that one blew a lot of people away.
I was super impressed by a lot of that. And my litmus test basically is, if I look at something and say I could not produce that, it's outside of my skill set, then I'm impressed by it. And this is definitely one of those pieces. I mean, there was, if we have to, like, critique anything, there are some areas where there's some, you can see very real steady specific artifacts in some of the wobble, the camera wobble in some of the areas. But I mean, like, the average viewer, I don't think is ever going to notice anything like that. And from a technical standpoint, not just the piloting, but also the hidden cuts, the choreography, the planning that went into it. Yeah, very impressive piece.
Yeah.
You can do gratuitous drone stuff for the sake of gratuitous drone stuff, which I'm all about, but at the same time, it's not what always, tells the best story. And I think that's what they've chosen to do here, is find the balance.
This case, this is one of those rare instances where a drone film is literally an actual film. It's not just a cinematic montage to to music.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It was the right tool for the job. Like no other camera or mount would have been able to do that. Yeah. So it's kind of unassuming. Like if you've seen drone shots, you're like, oh, it's just a guy one-wheeling through a forest.
It's really cool already, though.
Yeah, but you'd assume that somebody's piloting the drone because it's doing a fairly good job of keeping him in the frame and avoiding obstacles. And what's crazy is if you know what the Skydio is, it's a fully autonomous drone. It doesn't even come with a controller. You take it out of the box and it just you press the button and it just launches up.
What are you doing? What is happening? Why is it doing that? What is happening? What are you doing?
It's kind of terrifying how good of a job it does of tracking with him through a pretty tight area of forest.
You can definitely see it thinking, like it doesn't like always transition from one movement to the next. But I mean, the fact that it's a consumer piece of electronics that can't, I don't know what Skydios cost, but let's say less than $2,000, that is literally flying through the woods in 3 dimensions, keeping somebody in frame, getting shots.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
awesome.
and from an editing standpoint, there are moments that are great.
Oh,
like
yeah.
even if there's an adjustment period, like you have those really good shots. Like there's some really solid spots in here.
Yeah, and if you threw a tracker on his hat or something, you could probably smooth that out a little bit more and make it
Now,
feel a
I
little less
assume
robotic.
because you are all drone pilots, does it stress you out not having a remote? Like the idea of not having a remote and just letting the thing do whatever?
From my perspective, I would probably try to do dumber stuff than the drone is doing. So maybe this is a little bit more relaxing to me because it's not like, oh, this would be really cool if we hit this gap and dove down from the canopy and then tried to go through his legs, where this is kind of just like, let's just stay in the most open spot possible. Yeah. So like I might stress myself out by flying, so.
For me, it's like another tool in the toolkit kind of thing. There is a place for autonomous stuff, like especially the backward tracking stuff that it does is like you just can't really do that with a DJI drone. You can do it with an FPV drone if you put a camera on the back of it.
I feel like they poured so much tech and research into like nailing this ability to track and follow. It amazes me that they just couldn't like go the extra little bit, like the last 10%, and get the camera movements totally stable. Like it just seems like that's a problem that's already been solved through other tech that exists. It's like if they could just incorporate that in, they would have like a bulletproof solid product. Right now it just seems a little bit half-baked because the footage is not necessarily usable for anything more than a couple seconds.
It is, like you said, half-baked because they don't even offer you that many there's no log settings on the camera. I don't even think you can change the frame rate of the camera. Like it's literally just like, here's something that won't hit stuff and it's got a camera on it that sort of works, but it's like everything else is just auto.
I wonder if there's some sort of like machine learning aspect to it where they're like, let's get these out, get them in the hands of users, and as they encounter situations that they couldn't predict in the lab, they're taking all that information, bringing it back, and kind of digesting it as a whole, and then using that to make the drones better, and then the camera comes second. It's kind of like the Tesla model, right? We'll just put all the cars on the road and then just use that to update it as we go.
I wouldn't doubt that this is also them hedging their bets on their investment, because it's one of those things where it's tech, it rapidly evolves. So all it takes is DJI coming out with the same feature in like, if they wait 6 more months and DJI incorporates it in, all of a sudden their whole project is just completely obsolete.
And I mean, for someone who's never flown a drone, probably never will, this would be a sweet product for me because I could make videos that have drone stuff all by myself. Oh my god.
I'm very intentional about not watching Min Chan Kim videos because I don't want to feel bad about myself.
It's humbling.
Is this sped up?
This is
No,
not sped
this
up.
is real time. So what we're watching is
What
Florence.
the
This
hell?
is like, it's the DVR. It's like what you're seeing through the goggles because essentially you're flying as light of a quad as possible when you're doing this kind of stuff so that it can move so nimbly. And like,
How can someone think this fast?
does this come from just like doing the course over and over and over again until it's pure muscle memory, or do you think he's able to react like this quickly?
It's a lot of both. So Min Chan Kim, he's I think 15 or 16, South Korean, and he gets to train something like 12 hours a day. You're talking like 200 batteries. He's got a team of guys that help him build quads. So like he goes out until he breaks everything, and then somebody takes it and builds his quads while he goes back and does his schoolwork. So he's able to train at a level that nobody else can. And so he'll get a day to practice a track like this. So this, you can see that it's clearly sunset. So he's spent the whole day on this track. I'm not taking away from the fact that he can do that, but it's he definitely waits until the end of the day to get that DVR. But it's all muscle memory at that point, and just being on point. But I went and grabbed a couple quads. So this is actually the exact quad or similar to the quad that he's flying there. It's called the 533 Switchback, and it's just absolute minimum. He probably doesn't have these plates on here even, and there's absolutely no wasted weight. There's nothing like getting in the way of aero. He probably doesn't have this thing on here. This is like a Insta360 Go carrier, and so it's absolute just mad power. It should have something like a 12 or 13 to 1 thrust to weight ratio, where this thing weighs about 400 and some grams, and then he flies it at just at full throttle at all times. And that's comparing to something like the DRL. This is the Racer 4, like what we fly on the TV show. You can see that there's a big difference in like the intention of the drone, right? This is like, let's get it as fast as possible, and then this thing is just it's made for TV, let's put it that way.
I think the only reference for weight that I have is coffee grinds and 500 grams.
He's flying a latte.
That's a lot of coffee. That's quite a lot.
That's just one cup of coffee, basically.
It's a couple of coffee pucks. Do you or do not you not have to register that cup of coffee with the FAA if it was a drone? So that video, it was amazing because it's so fast that you can actually see, was it Nyquist frequency, where you start losing the ability to discern motion because of your sampling rate being too low? Like he was approaching that when he went around some gates. There was literally like 2 frames, the gate was there and gone. So there's a lot of mental interpolation that's going on probably for him as well, and I think muscle memory definitely plays into it. But no doubt that kid is skilled for sure. I can't fathom any drone racing. I've never had an interest in it personally, because it takes your level of your stick skills have to be off the charts to be able to even do it. And I mean, even just watching your guys' races in DRL, Nurk, and seeing some of the stuff that you guys are doing, I'm just like, wow, I couldn't fly this course without crashing into something slowly, let alone like trying to go full tilt and approach full throttle as much as possible. So it's just a different style of flying compared to like more cinematic FPV.
One of the things that I've been learning over the time of like doing, because I do some filming, I do some racing, I do some like consulting, like all of those different things, and like it's fun to have each of those inform each other and understand like what the challenges are of both, because like getting a shot nice and smooth and consistent and repeatable and adding in choreography is just as hard as flying like this. It's a different challenge, obviously, but keeping in mind that the guys that are at the top of their games of each of these are, working so hard to just do something that nobody else can do, and it's awesome to see, whether it's racing or filming or Finky flying around a bunch of martial artists. Like seeing what everybody can do is awesome and really inspiring.
Obviously, a lot of people have jumped onto the FPV thing in the last year, and a lot of people, when they first start out, say they just want to do cinematic, like skimming the trees and stuff like that. But I try to always tell people, like, learn freestyle too, because the more comfortable you are with the drone in like weird situations, A, the more likely you're gonna be able to get out of a sticky situation if you find yourself in one. But B, you can also like really spice up your shots and do stuff that you couldn't do with a regular drone. There's so much to freestyle that you can incorporate into the cinematic stuff. It just adds something that's so much more dynamic to it, I think.
And something that I would encourage people to do is to put yourself into high pressure situations too, like especially if you're looking to do like shooting professionally. And that's one of the things that I get out of racing is I know how to handle like nerves and stuff like that as a result of being on stage racing drones in front of a bunch of people. I got to work on my first feature film not that long ago, and it was a very different experience when all of a sudden there's 150 people on set that when they say, okay, it's time for the drone, everybody shuts down. All eyes are on you, and there is now tens of thousands of dollars a minute just waiting for you to crash. I was not as prepared for that level of pressure as I thought I was. But
That is super interesting. I never thought about that the pressure you would experience on a closed movie set would be equivalent or greater than what you'd experience with All Eyes on You racing professionally.
I would much rather race. Racing was a lot less pressure. That, like, it was just, oh my gosh, everything.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, when the guy, when the operator with the Aria LF with, you know, a $250,000 lens and a, you know, $80,000 body is just sitting there not doing anything, waiting for you to, like, finish playing with your toys on set, like, it's a different conversation. Like, it's just like, oh god, so you better hope everything works.
You're also surrounded by people who get it when you're at a race, versus when you're on set, you might be the only person there who really understands how this stuff works and what's possible. And you have to educate the director, and you have to educate the producers and the DP and everybody who's there on, like, what you can actually do and, like, what's a realistic expectation. And it's just,
When you tell the DIT that, oh, it's like, oh yeah, I'm using a GoPro, and they just kind of like,
yeah. Yeah.
it's never a good conversation.
So that's where I'm going to leave things off for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this as much as we enjoyed making it. If you think there's anything that we left out that we should have included, leave a comment below and I'll check them out. Maybe we'll include them in a future episode. I'm going to put links to Chris and Nurk's YouTube channels in the description below. Definitely check those out. They're both amazing people and pilots and awesome content creators. All the things that you want for in a YouTube channel. I'll also put links to all of the clips that we reviewed today in the description below in case you want to check them out for yourself. If you enjoyed this video at all, please consider leaving us a thumbs up or maybe subscribing. That would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one. I'm Christoph, and maybe someday I won't be making videos from my closet. Okay, see ya. Bye.